Hello, and welcome back to Eternal Ramblings, the show that's not really a show. It's me talking to a microphone for not really an hour anymore, has it? Don't really think I've done a full hour show a full hour recording for, at least 2 weeks now. This might be the third, because it is late night. Oh yes. I am going to get this done this weekend. I've sworn myself to it because far too much has happened to just put it off. Not too much has happened, but a fairly substantial amount of things have happened in the Eternity community this last week. But I have a killer headache that I have been battling all day. And that's why this recording is brought to you by a mimosa. Because alcohol cures all of what ails you. Yes. Boy. Welcome back. It's nice to actually do this. I don't think the last one... What did I do? I don't even remember. I do not remember any of what has gone on. I think last week was just me throwing up. Not throwing up. Maybe that's not a good place for my natural pause to think. Last week was me just throwing up a video, I believe, of Armello. I think it was the first game we did. Yes, the first game that we ever played as a group. Ever played. We all explored it together. I was feeling quite under the weather. I just really... Not really a head cold, but you know that sort of feeling where you're all stuffy and nasally and you got... just ick coming out of your throat and it's all scratchy. Yeah, not really a good recording time. I'm sure other people might have just gone ahead and done it, but nah, not me. I just wasn't feeling it. But I didn't want to leave up the channel. Didn't want to leave something up leave a week without something going on anyway. So, we did that. Now we're back to the regularly scheduled programming. Yeah. So, this week has been fairly eventful. I've started to try to get some interest in other role plays. However, I do believe I was beat to the punch in stirring up some activity by Sal herself, who came out with a roleplay idea regarding, Ark put it best, and that's very much like Stalker, which I haven't played. I know of it. I'm sure a lot of people in the community have not played this game or this series. Her thread is called PNW Anomaly, PNW being Pacific Northwest, because it is set in the woods and forests. Yeah, the forests of the Pacific Northwest of the United States and also, Canada, but I guess it wouldn't be the Northwest of Canada. You can see the very U.S.-centric tone that we give these names. The Pacific Northwest, there is an anomaly creating all sorts of disturbances, radiation, radio waves, which is a kind of radiation, so that's kind of redundant. But, yeah, things changing, trees growing, animals becoming weird, people disappearing, things disappearing and then reappearing in caverns, etc., etc. Just a large amount of weird happening. And the idea is for people to create characters, mostly scientists, maybe some military people. Military scientists would be nice. But mostly just a group of scientists going into the woods, and Sal determines whether or not they all die. And then everyone just goes off and writes the story of what's going on in the woods. Seems pretty nice, pretty good idea. I'd really like to see other people get interested. I'm probably going to create a character myself, but I'd actually have to spend some time to sit down and think about what I want to do. I have not at all thought about what I'm going to do in this roleplay. There's all kinds of things that can be done. All kinds of different scientists, but she does say that even if you don't know jack about any of the sciencey stuff, that you can still get involved. I mean, it doesn't have to be real or realistic, but also it does help to have like a little baseline understanding. Just a basic idea of how some science works, and I haven't sat down to think about what I want to do. You know, kind of what kind of story you want to create with your character. And that seems to be what it comes down to. There's no real set story. She's not really driving it very far herself. She is DMing it, which is to say that, you know, she's going to run it and resolve disputes and come up with antagonists, maybe? I'm not so sure. But it is really up to the people joining the roleplay to determine what they want the anomaly to be. And I'm not sure if she ever made that particularly clear, even though, I mean, it was clear to me in her writing that it was going to be up to the people joining the roleplay as to what's going on. But yeah, so eventually I'm going to have to sit down and figure out what I'm going to do for that roleplay. And it's really cool to see someone else come up with some ideas. That idea itself is found in the Fantasia section. So I believe the thread that she posted up, the notification thread, is in the Fantasia discussion section, but the roleplay itself should be in Fantasia. So look for it there. Hopefully we'll see more people join. Looks like it has a fair amount of interest anyway. Fair amount, you know, being, you know, at least 3. So that'll be cool. Cool to see that happen. Next up was something else I did myself, actually. I did not come up with it. I take that back. I put up in the Modern Tech role-playing discussion area an idea for a sort of historical, and you can't see the air quotes that I'm giving it, roleplay. I haven't determined where it's going to be. And honestly, it probably doesn't matter. It can probably take place anywhere, but it will be somewhat historical. I was thinking a sort of mid-Victorian flair to it, a mid-Victorian setting, maybe even closer to late Victorian, set in Ciora. So that would probably give it, the year 1450-ish? 1480, probably 1450, somewhere in there, that span of years. Not that it really matters, but, you know, people want dates, I'm sure. The idea is for a masked ball. And I got this idea in an old nation-states region that I was in. This is from 9 years ago, actually, where there is a group of people. In this instance, we actually created an entire new forum, and everyone had completely new logins to disguise their identities. And what it basically was, this was back, if you want to look it up yourself, even though you'll have a hard time because the forum was transferred to Tapatalk. Oh boy, it's hideous, and everything is just strewn about. I mean, it was obviously did the best they could. But you know, things were never going to transfer over 1-to-1. There's certain things that are missing, certain categories that were broken apart. Really, that is what was weird to me. That you don't have like categories and subcategories inside those, but it's just listed out. Yeah, it's hideous. Anyway, this was back in the Nova Imperium. Back in the olden days. I say olden days, but nation states wasn't really that old at the time. Was it? I can't remember. I joined in 2007-ish, I think. And then eventually, over the next 2 years, I was pretty active in nation states politics at the time, and eventually wound up as the elected king of the Nova Imperium. And at this time, someone came up with an idea for a masked ball. Well, the idea was for me, being the king of Nova Imperium, to go in disguise. And really, everyone goes in disguise. But the idea is for us to basically mingle and roleplay on this other forum where all of our identities are masked. And people would try to kill me. They would try to make guesses. They would interact, and through interacting with guests, try to determine who was the king. I had a very distinctive style of writing. I still think I do. And I tried to mask it the best I could. And apparently I did pretty well because I was never killed. We never really finished it, obviously. The night never ended. People got busy. I got busy and with school and other affairs, but it was a really interesting time and really quite fun. And I decided, going back, reading over this with a large cloud of nostalgia hanging over me, that it would actually be quite fun to have this in eternity. Obviously, we will not need to make a second forum. That would be complete overkill. What I happened to do, or the idea I had, was that it would be on this forum, and it would be in the historical roleplay section of the MTRP area in Siora. Set in some Sioran country somewhere. We haven't figured out where. And it doesn't really matter. But we will create our characters. We'll have our likes and dislikes, which don't need to be huge. It doesn't need to be like a paragraph. It can be a short list of likes and dislikes and personality traits, I guess. These things will be important. We'll also create our costumes. Yes, we will create our costumes for the ball, this masked ball. I want it to be from a set list so that things aren't getting outlandish and very obvious when I start to give hints, because I will be giving hints. This is a party and libations will be flowing and rumors will float about regarding who is the king and who is who. These rumors will pertain to, say, what they like, what they're about, sort of their personalities, their hidden secrets, and also their costumes, like, oh, hey, the king is wearing, or the king would never be caught dead wearing anything less than the finest whatever, this and that. Just to give people some hints in some direction, because this will be almost a game. There will be... I still haven't decided if everyone will be a killer, or if only a certain few people. But one person will be the sort of king. Might not be a king, maybe just some well-to-do gentleman throwing a ball, or gentlewoman, who knows. But the idea would be for either one or all of the guests to try to guess who is the king, and then try to kill that king. Well, in the meantime, everyone else will also be trying to figure out who everyone else is. Like who all the other guests are, because that is the point of this ball. You know, it's a masked ball. We're going. We don't know who is who. So the organizer is throwing a little game. Figure out who is who. Obviously, people can't just lie, because that would be unsporting. So it's a bit of a game in deduction, and also in trying to mask yourself without lying, I suppose. But Nentz had some interesting ideas, because he tied some parallels to a board game, well, something of a board game called Secret Hitler, which I have seen. I've seen it played. I've not played it myself, but it was always very interesting in that you had a group of people, and in, say, a group of 8, there might be 3 fascists, and one of them, 3 or 4, and one of them is, I think 3 fascists, and one of them is Hitler. and the fascists know who Hitler is, but Hitler doesn't know who anyone is. And the idea is everyone else who is not a fascist or Hitler is a liberal, and they're trying to figure out who Hitler is to keep him from becoming chancellor. Maybe they'll want to kill Hitler, but the idea is to pass a certain amount of liberal policies before Hitler gets into power, and presumably in doing so, these liberal policies will make it so that Hitler cannot take over power. On the other hand, the fascists are trying to pass these fascist policies. And in doing so, if they reach the end of like a certain number of fascist policies, then the fascists win. And also, as you pass more fascist policies, the chancellor gets more power. So it becomes a game. One person selects like 3 policies randomly, and then selects from those 3, 2 of them to pass on to, I think it's the president or the chancellor. And see, that's where I don't know the specifics. And then that one person has to pick one of those policies. You see the potential here. It's completely separate. But the idea is something of the same sort, where you have a certain group of people who are trying to find out who one person is, in a way. Hopefully, I get some interest for this masked ball. I went off onto a complete tangent that had nothing to do with it. Secret Hitler, that's not. Don't come to this game thinking Secret Hitler, because it's not. The masked ball really isn't, though. There might be some parallels, or it might remind at least Nents of it. But really like to get a large enough group of people in here. I think 10 would be the ideal size, because then I can have maybe 2 killers and one's the king, and that would leave 7 innocent people, or maybe even 3, who knows. But we'll see. Please, if you are interested in this idea, give it a shout out in the thread in the roleplay discussion area, because I really want to see whether or not I need to start advertising to other places. I am in a couple different regions in nation states, and I'll see if I can drag in a couple more people who might be interested in this concept over to eternity. Wouldn't that be a feat? Hopefully they'll stick around, right? Yeah. Maybe we should actually do some recruitment, huh? Recruit some new people to the region. Just a thought. I mean, we are starting to start up, restart, regain, rebuild, resume activity in the modern tech role-playing area. That has come up actually really recently. I don't know if it was last night, the night before, last night being Saturday. So it was either Friday or Saturday. This says, we've actually gotten a fair bit more interest and activity going on in the modern tech role-playing section, and I have to almost credit, not completely, but have to credit it mostly to Carpathia, Brum, and Eskia, who have created some drama between their nations, and everyone else has started to hop on board. A lot of updating has happened. Lions has been updating the map. He actually did that a few nights ago, earlier this week. Removing some nations and updating the list. And he's currently in an edifying mood. It seems he has recently been going through and changing up some of the nations. We've been going through finding places that have been mostly abandoned and somewhat changing things around. There's also been discussion regarding I don't even know, South Brigade Treaty Organization. Yeah, this weird NATO counterpart thing. Yeah, with crazy nations that really shouldn't be tied together. Anyway, yeah. A lot has been happening in modern tech roleplay. It's really cool to see that start up, but I guess the real testament would be to actually see real posts happen on the forum itself, and not just hundreds upon hundreds of replies in the RP discussion section of Discord, which is, nice enough. Kicking up interest is always good, but we'll see what happens. We've been down this road before. I mean, we started Alternative Earth as a means to try to regain some ideas and interest in writing and roleplay on the forum, and that happened for a bit, and then it died off. So we will see whether this activity will actually sustain itself. It would be cool if it did, and maybe even I'll get back into the swing of things and start actively managing Newland again. Cool to see it. We'll see where it goes. Sal has been plopping down. Plopping. That's not really the right word. She's been participating in Inktober, which is... It's not really a Tumblr thing. It's a sort of artist challenge. Something of a challenge. Where she has a list, and the list can vary depending upon where you get it. But she has a list of prompts, one for each day of October, and the idea is to go through those prompts, and make one drawing each day. Pretty simple. The idea being that there's no erasing, because it's all done in ink. Pens, markers, etc. Anything that's ink can be used. She's actually been sticking to it. She's tried the last few years, and she has a thread about this, by the way. I think it's in the diner. Do not quote me on that, but do try to check the diner. She's posted up some of her drawings that she's done earlier this month, and I love them because I think she's a fantastic artist, even though she doesn't think so herself. But go ahead and give it a shot. It might be in the diner. She's put up a few. They're linked. I think they're linked. So it's not spoilered or anything. So you'll have to click on some links. I think it's the dates that you click on to see the drawings. But they are great. And she works, I wouldn't say really hard, because the idea is not to spend so much time on them. But it is... She does put in all of the effort and try her best at least, and they do come out really nice. So go ahead, go check those out because I like them and you will too, and give her some good recognition because she deserves it. Inktober. She's been going through, I believe she's going to have to make up the last 2 days, but it's easy. It's like something about sleeping and something about drooling. Maybe-ish. So obviously you can tie those two together. It won't be too much of a problem. Oh boy. That is that all the news? That is not all the news. I tried to come up... I bumped my Prince roleplay idea thread, but I'm kind of on the fence about it. I think I might just ditch that one in favor of the Masked Ball, because that honestly is more interesting to me. And the ideas I had for the Prince roleplay, if you don't know what the Prince was going to be about, there was something of a hunting accident, in air quotes once again, that you can't see. It may or may not have been a true accident, but we won't know. There were only 3 characters out there, maybe 4. It really depends. Sal was going to create a sort of portrait, an artist character that was out there. Not one of the original 3 that I had in mind of being out there, but there were 3 characters out with the king hunting, and the king, there was an accident, and the king has died. However, obviously, to say the king is dead out in a hunting accident would cause a bit of a kerfuffle. So the idea is that none of these people want anyone else to know that the king is dead until the realm is ready to have a new king. And that's the problem. He did not have any children. He does not have any living brothers. As far as we know, he does not have any uncles, at least no one nearby. So, the idea was for them to find an heir, or to position themselves in a position to become the king, and then release the news at the same time as, oh, here is the new king. Of course, they might not succeed, and in which case stuff gets all messy. But I have kind of forgotten a lot of the ideas I had for it. I mean, it's not a big deal to just come up with new ideas. But I don't really think that I want to get into it so much. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of interest, and I need at least 3 people, because I don't want to play one of the parts and also try to somehow not favor myself while playing one of the parts. I was going to just be a sort of DM for this and just play all the NPCs and tell you about the world and what's going on. But it doesn't look like there's really much interest, and also I've not so much lost interest in the idea, but I'm more interested in the masked ball, quite honestly. It's a much more just a much more outright fun concept. This little game that we can play. But that's there. If you are still interested in it, I will, I'll set aside the time to come up and start that roleplay sometime, somewhere, somehow. All the vital characters, the information on the vital characters, I've already put up in the thread. And I think it's in the first post. So if you want to take one of those characters and just flesh them out, go for it, because I need at least 3 people to take those 3. But, I'm not too worried if no one's really interested in it. So, let's, what else we got? Oh yeah, someone, I won't name names, but I am being asked to help another nation-states region come up with roleplay. It's my task to come up with the world for a sort of fantasy roleplay area. And you can bet your butt that I am not redoing Onlosheim. I have a massive backlog of stuff that I need to write for Onlosheim, but never really do, because I sit down to write things, and I've been working for 60 hours that week, and it's 8 o'clock by the time I sit down. And I'm like, I gotta wake up, and I gotta be in bed in 2 hours to wake up for work at a reasonable hour with a reasonable amount of sleep. I really don't feel like writing today. That's my main problem that I have right now. Spring, summer, and fall. I am working my hands to the bone. My feet ache, my back aches. The tops of my feet ache. It's one thing for the balls of your feet, the heels that hurt. But for the tops of your feet, something's going on. You're on your feet too much when that happens. But, yeah. I'm getting old. I'm 30 years old. I know I'm not old, but I'm getting there, I'm at that point where sometime in the next 10 years, everything's just going to fail. Everything's just going to start hurting all of the time. So, we'll see how long I can keep this up, how long it takes before I gotta transfer to being in the lab, to managing the lab and having a desk job, which I'm not looking forward to. I hate sitting behind a desk. I don't mind it. I don't mind having to do desk work for 2, 3, maybe 4 hours a day. But 4 hours is kind of my limit, But I know I can't stay working in the field for too much longer. You get tradespeople that do it for 20, 30, 40, whatever years, and 50 years. I don't know how they do it. It hurts. Of course, that's probably what happens. They hurt every day, and they work. But they work their 8-hour shifts. They get their 40 hours a week. They get their holidays and comp time and union wages, and I got none of that. Not that I don't got a bad job. But I don't think I want to stay doing what I'm doing for too much longer. I have plans to go back to school here because I feel like I should at least finish the one degree that I started and didn't finish, my construction project management degree. Finishing that off would at least get me a pay raise. And hey, work pays for it, you know? They reimbursed me the cost of getting this degree, so I mean, why would I not go for it while I work at this company? So I'm going to hopefully go for that sometime soon. I'll have to look into it and talk to advisors and see what gets transferred over from the University of Alaska system. Hopefully it's a lot, because I was just about, not a semester, but it's less than a year, but more than a semester away from getting the degree there. But I didn't think I'd wanted to do it. I'm going through school, and you're like, man, this is not the career that I want to do. So I just didn't finish. And look where I am now. I'm in that career. I'm in construction. Woe is me. I complain, but I actually do like my job. I'm just on my feet a lot. Speaking of which, I'm standing on my feet recording this now. I don't know why I am. My feet hurt. I need to get off them. Hopefully, I'll be having some training over the winter, but I mean, I say hopefully, but I mean, if I'm not working, then I'm not getting paid. So hopefully I'm working just enough to get enough money to satisfy my obligations, but not so much that I am so busy like I have been over the summer, and actually I can actually get some writing done and finish up some projects that I've been wanting to do this whole time. Just have not. I was about to say just not have not had the time, but it's mostly just have not had the energy. Well, I've had plenty of time. Such is life. Such is the way things go. What was I talking about? I was talking about something about shoot. I've lost it. Anyway, that's that. That's most of the info, really. The game in the background was Armello, as is usual. Go ahead and buy it. It's really great. You should join us. Yeah. Anyway, I am Separalis. I have been and I always will be. And I will see you, hopefully, next time. Take care and bye-bye.